Hey guys, welcome to the Hoodni's Fantasy Football Podcast. This is episode 3, Sleeper Picks. I have with me MFB,
Was good.
and I also have BBTB.
AKA Bench 550, AKA Fantasy Winner, AKA Himothy. You feel me?
Yeah, we feel you, big dog. All right, we're going to go over our sleeper picks for this season, for the 2024 fantasy football season. Just to note, we're doing this podcast currently at the end of July, so these can always change. Players can get injured in camp, so don't take this as gospel, but listen in. We got some good picks for you. So, BBTV, why don't you go ahead and start us off with your QB sleeper, and I'll pull it up here in the chart.
Yep. All right, so my first QB sleeper will be Matthew Stafford from the Rams. And let me explain to you why Matthew Stafford from the Rams. So if you listen to episode 2, I'm the dude that fades the that fades the tight end and the QB. So, but in the late rounds, I feel like Matthew Stafford would be a great sleeper pick. Currently, I think in 12 man's going in between round 7, 8, and 9. Not too sure exactly. And the reason why I'm saying Matthew Stafford is because he finally has a full healthy roster. He has Kyron Williams, fully healthy. Just drop it to him. Catch machine, TD machine. You got finally a healthy Cooper Kupp. Hopefully he stays healthy, for the whole entire season when the season starts. And with Matthew Stafford having all those weapons, Sean McVay being a very pass-heavy coach, I truly believe Matthew Stafford can do some damage in fantasy.
Okay, sounds good. MFB, do you have any thoughts on that pick?
I would say it's a pretty good pick. I'm on board with it, pretty much 100%. I'd be happy if I got Matt Stafford late in a draft. He kind of has the situation where it's too many weapons to fail type of deal, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I see it. And then also, this is, by the way, for those watching, if you're looking at this is showing, this column here talks about the strength of schedule. So 5 out of 5 means the schedule is much easier. 1 out of 5 is the schedule is terrible, and it's tough for them to get points for that position. So it looks like he's got 4 out of 5 stars for the schedule. So he's got an easy schedule, relatively easy schedule this season. So it's not a bad pick. I will throw in a little bit of a caveat here. He's had that shoulder issue the last couple of seasons, and since he won that Super Bowl, I feel like his motivation to win has just not been there. How do you feel about that?
Well, if you think about it, he just never really had his weapons to really guide him there. You know what I mean? Like he just when you don't have your stars, it's really tough to if you know what I mean. If LeBron James is not playing on the Lakers, does the Lakers really have a chance to make that playoff run? Not really,
Right.
So
Right.
I personally think since everyone's fully healthy and everyone's back, O line looks great, everyone's just looking good. I think Matthew Stafford can make that run.
Okay. Well, it's a good pick. I like it. And we'll move on to MFB. MFB, who's your fantasy quarterback sleeper this year?
So I got J.J. McCarthy on the Vikings that they just drafted.
Okay.
And reason for this, kind of similar to build on the Matt Stafford point, right? Is in the draft, right? We have in the first round wide receivers going are Puka and Jay Jettis, right?
Right.
And these are the guys who are going to be feeding them the ball, right? So
Correct.
the points have to trickle down from the QBs, essentially.
Right.
That's kind of the thought process here, right? Now,
Yeah.
I am aware that Sam Darnold is probably starting off the year. But in training camp, Sam Darnold has not looked good. And J.J. McCarthy has looked way better than Sam Darnold. So I would probably say week 4 to 5, they make the switch.
Okay. I mean, I like it. They got a really good strength of schedule, 5 out of 5 stars. I mean, you got players like I don't know. This one's got 0 out of 5 stars. Terrible. But for McCarthy, yeah, he's got a very good schedule this season, at least projected. And you're not wrong. He has really good weapons there. But I don't remember if you guys know when was the most recent kind of rookie quarterback that came out the gates just on fire. Do you guys remember
Uh,
in recent years?
Mike Vick.
All right, bro, you going way too back. I'll say
Yeah.
okay. I'll say last year,
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson pre-injury,
Right.
going
Oh
nuts.
yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
that's true. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, if he gets the start, the sooner I think he gets the start over Sam Darnold, depending on how Sam Darnold plays. If he's playing well, there's a risk that he McCarthy won't get that start earlier on. But I mean, at rank 227 overall, people may not be drafting him until the later rounds. So I think he's good value for where he's being drafted currently. Closer to what? That's about the 150 mark. So just so you guys are aware, he's being drafted a lot earlier than his rank. BBTB, any thoughts on the pick?
Yeah, honestly, kind of not a fan of the pick, just because I feel like there's like 20 better quarterbacks than JJ McCarthy, like currently right now. Obviously, that can change during the season. I think they paid Sam Darnold for a reason, so I think they're gonna pay the guy they played. They're gonna play the guy they paid.
Right, right, right.
So I think Sam Darnold will. I think this is a learning year for JJ McCarthy. I'm not saying he'll be bad. I don't think that he's. I feel like he'll be the guy in the future, 100%. But the only way I think McCarthy starts is due more than likely just due to an injury. I don't see
Mm-hmm.
him stepping foot on the field. Maybe towards the middle to the end of the season. But I
Mm-hmm.
think Sam Darnold will pick it up with and get that chemistry going with those weapons that he has in Minnesota.
Right. MFB, any thoughts on that? Any counter arguments or?
I mean, it's a fair assessment. I just think Sam Darnold sucks, bro. I ain't going front. I ain't going front. That fool sucks.
I mean, yeah, it's as real as it gets.
Yeah,
He's not really a top QB or anything.
that's
Um,
true.
any
I
other thoughts,
I
BB?
just think honestly, I don't think I would use a draft pick on him. I
Mm.
really don't think so. Toward even like 13, 14, 15. I really don't think so. I would. I feel like that would be definitely a good waiver pickup. But
Not even your last pick. You wouldn't take him last pick overall.
uh, I
You have one. You only have one QB on your roster's last pick. Would you take him?
Uh, that's a tough one.
Yeah,
That's a tough one.
yeah.
It
You have
depends
your
on who's
defense.
left,
Yeah.
to be honest. But if he's like
Right.
if I need one more QB and he's like one of the last decent ones, then round 15, all right, I'll probably take McCarthy.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cool. Um, any other thoughts? All right.
Nope.
I'm gonna move on to my fantasy quarterback sleeper, and this is gonna be Will Levis from the Tennessee Titans. And I think that he's a sleeper because he's going. Currently, he's the QB 24, so you can pick him up towards the end of your drafts. He didn't really make a huge splash last year, but he showed what he could do in some games. I think he's going to take a big step up this year with Calvin Ridley and Tyler Boyd both added to the roster. So being in his second season, and they also added Tony Pollard. They did lose out on Derrick Henry, so they kind of lost some juice in the running back room. But I think Tony Pollard still has some juice. I think Treylon Burks showed he can also run it in the backfield, and I just think that adding two new wide receivers with um, uh, on the team with
Ridley and Boyd,
Ridley and Boyd with who's the other one? I keep
D
forgetting.
Hop.
DeAndre Hopkins.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So then those three weapons there, I think, will give him the success that he needs. And you're not wasting a high draft pick. You could take a shot at earlier QBs and like Matthew Stafford, like BBTB said. But I just think that this is going to be more value for where you're getting him at in the draft.
Yeah,
And
I definitely like that. That is a
cool.
great pick. I don't know if you guys noticed though, all of our sleeper QBs, their bye weeks are very very early. Like we have
Mm,
Will Levis on week 5, and then
yeah.
JJ McCarthy, Matthew Stafford on week 6.
Right.
So us getting those bye weeks out the way can increase their value in fantasy towards the middle and the end of the season. So that's also something I to really think about, you know. So I definitely love that pick.
Right.
Yeah.
MFB.
I just think there's better like upside from other QBs, honestly. Um,
Right.
but Will Levis can boom. We've seen it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Hmm.
And he got some weapons now. You know, like all three receivers are not bad by any means.
Right.
D Hop still has great hands. Ridley, still I guess mid-career post-break. Um,
Mm,
he's still a great receiver.
right.
Tyler Boyd's good. Their receiving is pretty good, so I could see like the possible upside because of their receiving talent.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, definitely. And then, I mean, I also noticed, I mean, his schedule, the strength of schedule is 5 of 5. So he's, I mean, it's, to me, everything's kind of set up for him to succeed. It's whether or not he can do it. So, I mean, we'll see. I just think that if you're looking for, let's say you just keep all the quarterbacks keep going in your face and it's just not worth it to take them as better opportunity or better options earlier rounds, or you're looking for just a backup quarterback, I think he could help your team out this year.
Yeah.
But
Like that.
let's yeah, let's go ahead and move on to wide receiver for BBTB. Who you got for your sleeper wide receiver?
All right. Sleeper wide receiver.
Yeah.
All right. So this is gonna be crazy take number 2. I have this
Oh
man
boy.
finishing top 10 by the end of the year. I think it's
All
going to
right.
be Deontay Johnson from the
Okay.
Panthers.
Let's
And
pull him up
so,
here.
yeah, so I really think Deontay Johnson will really be that guy. They really improved on the offensive line tremendously. They had and they added and they still have Adam Thielen there, and I forgot the other guy.
Xavier Leggett.
Leggett, yes, they have him. So and that guy's been
Mhm.
a threat in camp right now. So I feel like that guy will probably schemes will probably be played just for him. So Deontay Johnson will probably get open a lot more, and so I feel like Deontay Johnson will be very consistent if he stays healthy. Every year, I think it's been 2 or 3 years so far. He's been injured with something, whether it's like a knee or an ankle or something. He's at least
Right.
missing 4 to 6 games, but if he stays healthy, I really think he can do some damage in fantasy.
MFB, any thoughts?
At
Top
his
10 pick?
current like at his current like this current like range, I
Yeah.
mean 36 is pretty low, but like
Right.
I would buy him at like 40 plus ADP, right?
Uh huh. Uh huh.
I'm not buying him at this price, bro. Like, I just don't believe, bro. Bryce Young.
Look, you can't judge a QB on his first year. You can't judge him. You got to give him at least
But
a
he didn't
second
look
year.
good at all. Like
You're
at
not
all,
wrong.
bro. It was like
It
at
was
all,
not
bro.
not
It
a
was
lot of good.
bad.
Yeah.
You're not wrong,
Like
but what weapons did he have though? He had hurt Miles Sanders, Chuba Hubbard doing whatever.
I guess
Oh,
that's
He had
fair.
he
I
had
mean,
Thielen.
we'll
He
see.
had
Jonathan Mingo.
Mingo, and then who's the other one? The
There,
second
there,
year, I think.
there's
I
another guy.
forgot.
Yeah, I totally forgot his name, but
I'm blanking on the names,
but he's a
but
rookie though. Like I can't really blame him on his first year jitters. He probably didn't
I mean, we
handle
saw C.J.
adversity.
Stroud go crazy on his first year.
But CJ Stroud probably just knows how to handle adversity a lot better. Bryce Young just didn't know how to handle it. So I I think I'd give Bryce Young a shot. He won't be on my fantasy team,
Yeah.
but
I mean, I'm not putting my chips on a Bryce Young bounce back. I ain't co-signing that.
Fair, no fair. I mean, I personally, I think for where he's going, I mean, I have these colored. This is like tier 5. This is Deontay Johnson's considered tier 6. I would say for where he's going this is what, in the 7th round.
hmm
This would probably be your flex then at that point, or your wide receiver too.
No, that's a
I,
great flex.
if you already have 2 wide receivers, yeah. But by
hmm
round 7, you should probably have, yeah. This could be your flex. I mean, in my opinion, I just think I mean, if you look at other wide receivers in this area, like you have Keenan Allen right here in the same round, right, or just in the round before, and then you have other like Hollywood Brown right here. I might consider taking Hollywood Brown over Deontay Johnson,
Sure.
even though he's being
But
drafted a
hold
little
on,
bit
Kimo,
later.
you're known to be a Deontay Johnson fan.
I'm
Every year you have him on your team.
I have him in every. I think I've had him for like 3 or 4 years straight on one fantasy team. I'm a big look. I'll be honest. Deontay Johnson's got hands. Like he makes some crazy catches now. Nothing like that's like highlight reel, but there are some that every year he has one or two like pretty decent catches. You know what I mean? So he can do it. He's got the ability. He's got the talent. It all just kind of comes down to Bryce Young. Honestly, at the end of the day, like MFB said, do you trust Bryce Young? That's kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah.
All right, MFB. Let's move on to excuse me. Let's move on to your wide receiver sleeper pick this year.
So, funny enough, we're talking about Deontay Johnson.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to talk about the guy who no longer has Deontay Johnson anymore, and that's George Pickens.
George Pickens. George Pickens is going at the beginning of the 5th round. So sorry for the coloring here, but yeah,
No
he's
problem,
right here.
But so without Deontay last year, right, on the same team, Pickens saw 27% target share, which is like pretty much like the sweet spot. That's kind of where you want your receivers getting like targets, right? Like in that amount of share.
Right.
Now, here's the factor of QB coming into play. He has Russell Wilson this year, right?
Yeah.
It's not too pretty either, by any means. But, like, if we look at wide receivers, the Broncos had none of their talent really equal to George Pickens, in my opinion, right? Not even Cortland Sutton to me, right? And I'm a
Really?
Broncos fan. Yeah, I would choose Pickens. Like athletically, like route tree, like I'm choosing Pickens.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of why I have him as a sleeper. I think, he'll do better. He'll get more targets. Like, there's nobody else competing for targets on that team besides, like, the target.
Who else do they
number
have?
2 is Pat Fryermuth, right?
Right. Who else is on that team in terms of the wide receivers?
They have
It's Calvin Austin and
Van Jefferson.
Man, who else? Van Jefferson. Oh, they got this guy. I think it's a rookie.
Roman Wilson. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's not a bad pick. I mean, so you would take this. He's going in the 5th round. Would you take him? Would you reach for him in the end of the 4th round, like right over here?
Sorry. Can I ask? Is this really 5th round? Because this tier is more than 12 spots, is it not?
Yeah.
43 to
So
60?
I'm doing for a 12-man. I mean, we're doing this based off of 12-man half PPR scoring. And so 12-man would be 4th round is 48 would be the end of the 4th round.
Gotcha.
So the 5th round
Oh,
would start
yeah,
here.
yeah, you're right. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, not somebody
Yeah.
I would reach for, just because I don't like reaching. But like at this ADP, I think it's cool.
Okay. No, I mean what you're saying makes sense. I mean, Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson, so I mean, he did finish. I think it was a QB. Just looked it up. QB 14 last year. So, I mean, not terrible, right? And then you have a guy who's not competing with anyone for targets on an offense that could potentially do a little bit better this year as opposed to last year. Yeah, I don't think it's a terrible pick, but I don't know if I would spend a draft pick on George Pickens this early on in the draft.
Yeah, honestly, same. Because I mean, I see T. Higgins there. I see Zay Flowers, Tank Dell, Christian Kirk. I don't know, because the thing with Pickens is either like he's going to catch that long ball, 50-yard long ball, get that touchdown, and score hella points in fantasy, or he'll score less than 5 points in fantasy. He's literally a hit or miss, and I'm not too sure if I'm willing to take that risk. But you have a lot of consistent dudes with like Zay and Tank and Kirk. I don't know. Like I think Pickens is great athletically and all that, but I wouldn't take him over those guys that I mentioned.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna move on to my wide receiver sleeper pick, and I was debating between two different wide receivers, but eventually ended up settling on Jacoby Myers in LV. So
Kobe Myers.
yes, he's
Okay.
being drafted at what is this? The wide receiver 50.
This is a
So
slumber
at
pick, bro. This
end
is a
of
deep sleep pick.
this is this is the thing is I'm making so just side note I'm making picks
Yeah,
that
we gonna let you land. Go ahead.
yeah that might not be made in the draft or that you might not really think about. Anyways, I'm going to continue on. So Jacoby Myers averaged last season a little over 10.1 fantasy points. He had like 10.1, 10.2 fantasy points per game, which does include week 18 where he scored 20.1 fantasy points in half PPR. But if you don't include week 18, he still averaged 9.6 fantasy points per game. Now, if you're getting him at the end of the 10th round, beginning of the 11th round for your team, I mean, that's your bench, right? I mean, would you be happy with, 9.6 fantasy points a week on your flex, close to 10 fantasy points? I think it's a good value, and even if you don't use him, I think it's still good value pick at this late in the draft, even for a trade piece or however you want to use him. And he has Aiden O'Connell thrown to him, where he threw to him for a lot of last season. The last 5 weeks, I think, Aiden O'Connell started, and a few weeks before that. So they have experience together. And if Aiden O'Connell gets, the boot, he's not doing it, then they have Gardner Minshew there, so as a backup. So I think this late in the draft, the value that you're getting for him, I think it's a solid pick.
Um, I I do like that. The only reason why I kind of like that is because you could also use them as a trade piece.
Right.
If someone, let's say, their star player gets hurt or something, and they're not coming back for 6 weeks, you can
Right.
probably bundle that. You could probably bundle Jacoby Myers, a 10-point player, and then someone else with him, and then you can get like a semi decent player. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I do like that because I'm looking at like the list, and I don't know like in that whole category. I think Jacoby Myers is the best one. So yeah.
MFB, any thoughts?
I can get behind it just because like it's such low of a price, right?
Right.
I think if we look at like the round and the value that you get in this round, it's the best bang. It's the best bang for your buck.
Right. Okay. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and move on then to the RB sleepers. BBT, why don't you start us off with your sleeper RB pick this year?
My sleeper RB pick. Give me just a second. Yes. So my sleeper RB pick is a guy that's playing with Jacoby Myers. It'll be Zamir White. I think he's on his third year. He's finally the RB1. He slightly towards the end of the year, he was getting a lot more touches. I do think that he'll average around like 20 touches a game, be in probably like at least 80% of the plays of the offensive plays. I think that if the ball is being moved down within the five yard line, I think he'll get the ball in the end zone for sure. I feel like he honestly, let's hope whoever the quarterback is, either Aiden O'Connell when Jimmy Garoppolo comes back. Let's hope they can push the ball down, but I feel like Zamir White can do some damage.
Okay. No, I mean, I like it. I have a quick question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right here, we see him. He's RB22, and we have James Conner RB21. Would you take Zamir White over James Conner?
I would not.
Okay.
Just because I do believe Cardinals are going to have a high-powered, high-scoring offense. They have everyone
Okay.
healthy. They have a couple great picks. I'm probably would take Connor.
Would you take him? Would you take Zamir White over DeAndre Swift or Najee Harris, which are being drafted right after?
I would take Zamir White over Najee Harris because with
Okay.
Najee Harris and Jalen Warren splitting touches, you really don't know who's going to get in the end zone. I would take Zamir White over Najee. Swift, that's a toss-up. I'll be honest. So Chicago has a great offense coming into the season.
Right.
But I'm not too sure if like Swift will probably get it in the end zone, but I feel like since Caleb Williams is there and how many and the options that they have at the receiving and tight end, um, I think they'll be mostly passing in the touchdowns. So I think it's a toss up.
Between Zamir White and DeAndre Swift. Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel that. MFB, any thoughts on the pick?
I've been seeing a lot of Zamir White hype going in, and at some point I follow it, and then I remember the homies on the Raiders, bro, and then I just don't.
That's
You know,
that's
I
yeah.
don't. Man, I'm having a hard time
So
buying into any Raiders offense,
so
and
let
I
me
think they were like predicted bottom 3 in just points scored overall,
right.
like NFL wise for the year, right? So
So
it
let
just
me
doesn't
ask you.
correlate well.
Let me ask you this then: Zamir White or Najee Harris? Who are you taking if you need an RB? This is about round. It's round 6. It's round 6. This is round 6 right here.
I'd probably take Najee. No, sorry. I would take Zamir. I would take
Zamir White.
Zamir.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And then
Yeah.
DeAndre Swift or Zamir White.
Swift is tough, man. I rather trust the guy getting more volume than like the known volume.
Right,
Because DeAndre Swift, they still have Herbert, they still have
right.
Rashawn Johnson.
That's right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They got these backs that they're gonna
Maybe a
work in,
committee.
you know?
Right.
So
Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, there you go. So Zamir White. I mean, it's a solid pick. I mean, yeah, it does come back to the Raiders offense at the end of the day, but
Yeah.
yeah, still solid overall pick. MFB, your RB sleeper this year.
yeah, my RB sleeper is also one that's been getting a lot of hype, I guess, recently. Is Tony Pollard.
Okay, let's find where he's being drafted. Tony Pollard. Oh, he's right there. There you
Right.
go.
So I mean, if we last year he didn't have a great year, right? He was a first round prospect, right,
Right.
for the draft last year. The year before that, 2022, he went like nuts. He was a straight menace.
hmm
Right.
So this is kind of like an incredible price tag for a homie that has that potential, right? Now we're
Right.
looking at an offense that lost Derrick Henry, right? They upgraded their receivers, and now
Yeah.
they have Tony Pollard. What reason is there that you can't just slot in Tony Pollard for Derrick Henry with a better passing offense,
Well,
and
I mean,
have a great outcome?
right.
You feel me?
Yeah, yeah.
Also, like they paid him 21 mil. They didn't pay him 21 mil to sit on the bench.
Yeah, you're
I
not
know
wrong.
Tajay Spears is there.
100%.
But I predict the
100%.
split, like honestly, 60-40, like split.
60-40 split. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
with
we saw.
Spears, right? And
Yeah.
one last point is like
Sure.
there was a lot of like statistics last season about like the split with the Henry and Spears is like out snapping Henry some games. Yeah, he was out snapping him, but he wasn't getting the ball. He wasn't touching the ball. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
so. I think Pollard will come back, and this is like a very high boom pick if he does come back, bro, at a tier
Yeah.
6 price.
I mean, you're looking at a lot of people have a bad taste in their mouth last year from Tony Pollard. He was the biggest hype player. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, I want Tony Pollard." All these analysts, they were, "Oh my God, I'm so high on Tony Pollard last year," and then he just let everyone down. I think probably top bust pick for the first round last season. I think overall. It
Oh,
was like
easily.
unanimous.
Easily.
For last year by far, yeah.
Yeah, unanimous bust
Easily.
pick. So I think it leaves a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't take him in any leagues, so I don't have that bad taste, and I like this pick. I'm about Tony Pollard. I think now that I mentioned earlier Will Levis on that offense. If he can get the ball going with all those receivers, you can open up the run game with with all the options that you have at wide receiver as they start moving down the field. BBTB, what do you think?
So I do like that pick. The only thing that I'm worried about is if Tajay Spears takes those goal line touches from Tony Pollard away. Because I don't know. I feel like Tony Pollard might get some touches in the end zone, but Tajay Spears, instead of him, like let's say getting hurt or anything like that, they also have that weapon. Just just bust it up the gut, give it to Tajay. So that's the only slight
Pause.
downside. But it's only the slight downside. But everything else about Tony Pollard is it's pretty solid.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much goal line work that Tajay Spears will take. I mean, I do see that being a problem, but if I think if Tony Pollard can break off a couple tackles and get into the end zone from like the 30-yard line or like even outside the outside the red zone or even slightly in the red zone like 20-yard line, I think that would be a huge value if he can break off tackles like he was back to what 2 years ago when he was on the Cowboys and he was really doing it when there was
Yeah.
him and Zeke. But I mean, yeah, we'll see. I think what is kind of reassuring is that they did pay him. MFB said about 21 million,
Yep.
Uh, yeah, 7 mil a year.
7 million. Yeah, I mean that. I mean, you don't pay a guy that you're just going to sit on the bench or that you're not going to use like often. So that's reassuring.
Yeah.
But yeah, solid overall pick. So I'm gonna go ahead and go with my RB sleeper pick, and he is right. Where is he? Over here. It's Zeke on Dallas. In my opinion, he's going back to Dallas. He's got something to prove. They let him go last year. He went to New England, and he got a lot of goal line work. So I think that he's going to continue to get goal line work. He is the goal line back. He is a starter. He's competing with Deuce Vaughn and who is it? Rico Dowdle.
Yeah.
And so currently he's going as RB 37. This is let me see, in the what is it, ninth round, I think. Yeah, just about ninth round, or it might be 10th round. This is the 10th round. So yeah. You have an RB in the 10th round that's starting for the Cowboys that now has something to prove to them. They brought him back, so they like what they saw when he was in New England. I think he's going to get a lot of goal line work, and all you need is a touchdown. You know what I mean? If he can get you one or two touchdowns a game, I mean, what more can you want?
Yeah.
So yeah, any thoughts on that, guys?
Um, yeah, honestly, I really like Ezekiel Elliott. I totally forgot he went back to Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember towards the end of the season in New England, he started picking it up. Started
Right.
getting that goal line work, started getting actually a lot of passing work too. So I would really, I do like that a lot. Getting in at, you said it was around 10, yeah?
Yeah, this would be in about the 10th round, I think, if I did the math. Yeah, this is the end of the ninth round right here at 108, and then this starts the 10th round. So beginning of the 10th round.
Yeah, I feel like honestly he's probably the best 10th round pick. Just looking at
Right.
that list, so I would probably go Ezekiel Elliott right there. That's a 9 out of 10 pick, 9.5 to 10 out of pick.
Yeah, MFB.
I'm thinking for the value in the 10th round, yeah, it's good, right?
Right.
Um, Especially if like the Dallas offense can make it easy, like because they have a pretty
Right.
good offense. But I'm just worried that he's old, bro. He's like 29, you know.
Right.
I don't like buying into a lot of old RBs. Um,
Yeah.
that's my only thing against him. Like that's the only knock I have.
No, I mean that's understandable. I think that the worst thing that can happen is your player gets injured and you don't have their handcuff. But I mean, who's going to go and draft? I mean, you could realistically take Rico Dowdle or Deuce Vaughn, but which of those guys is really going to be the one that steps up? Do you really want to like take a draft pick for his backup? Not really. So this is
Yeah,
kind of like
probably.
if you believe in him, you take him. If not, you can leave him. But I think it pays off huge in the 10th round, getting an RB that's a starter for the Cowboys, and he's being ranked as RB 37. I mean, I think just getting a starter on any team is always huge value. So that's kind of my thought process there.
Yeah, but honestly, every single year the Cowboys in the regular season are great. Like
Right,
they know how to push that ball down the field. They
right,
know how to get it in the end zone. I
right.
feel like the only guy to really punch it in the end zone will be Zeke. If they're on the 1 yard line, 2 or 3 or 4 yard line, they're
Yep,
gonna give it to Zeke. So I feel like Zeke in that moment will shine. So I really like that pick.
yep. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to tight ends. BBTB, why don't you go ahead and start us off with your tight end pick this year for sleeper?
Yeah. All right. So my sleeper tight end pick is gonna be my favorite team. He's on my favorite team. His name is Juwan Johnson. And the reason why I'm saying Juwan Johnson is because he kind of proved himself last year to be the tight end one. I'm a big Saints fan. Watched Saints pretty much every single game last year. Pretty much neck and neck, like it goes Olave, then him. You also have Taysom Hill there, but Taysom Hill, he's either a hit or a miss. So I'm taking
They're
Jawan Johnson. I think his
right.
catching ability, the way he moves. I think he's like 6'6", 250. And great in the end zone. Um, yeah, like him a lot.
I I think you forget one like really major thing that's the problem there is the Derek Carr's throwing him the ball. So I think in my opinion, I don't know if I like Juwan Johnson. I think if I'm here and it's my pick, let's say it's this is the 180th pick is end of a 12-man draft, I believe. I'm taking Taysom Hill here. If it's my last pick, or even before this, I'm gonna go Taysom Hill over Juwan Johnson. I mean that to me that you
Yep,
got a
same.
player that I mean, yeah, I mean, you got a player that at any given point can just run can play the QB, and they have him doing trick plays. They have him just rush up the middle, gets like 20 yards. I mean, it's the value there is so much better than having a tight end that Derek Carr is throwing to. I just don't like Derek Carr. If you had someone else, I mean, if you still had James Winston, I might consider,
Hmm.
Juwan Johnson just because uh, James Winston's just a slinger. He just lets it go. But to me, the value pick here would be Taysom Hill. That's just my opinion.
But you got to think about too. In other leagues, Taysom Hill isn't just a tight end. So some leagues have him as just a quarterback too. By the way, so
Okay.
so it depends on what app you're drafting on. He'll either be a tight end, a quarterback, or both.
Yeah. I,
Um.
I think he's
So
listed on
I'm
their
with
depth
Kimo on
chart.
that because
Yeah.
Juwan Johnson, bro, like realistically, at the best case, he's the fourth option on the Saints, right? It
Right.
goes Olave, Kamara, Shaheed,
Yep.
and then Juwan Johnson probably, right? Let's say.
sure.
Yeah.
And I'm not really about buying into the fourth options on any team, right?
Right.
Um, Realistically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's
but
a terrible pick.
no,
No, it's
no, it's not a terrible
not.
pick. Well, I mean, but
I.
you're talking to a guy that
Pl-
fades the tight end too. You know what I mean? So like,
But you, I
uh,
need to pick your brain a little bit more. Continue. I don't want to spend too much time, but I want to hear you say what you have to say because I can't get behind this.
We want to hear you sound like an
I.
idiot. Go ahead.
so listen, listen,
You need
listen.
to sell us because honestly, neither of us are sold, and like at all.
Look,
10 out of 10, I'm taking Taysom Hill over Juwan Johnson.
so the reason why I'm taking Jawan Johnson is because Derek Carr also did like Jawan Johnson a lot. So I think Jawan Johnson is just going to stun people. He's on. I think he's on his contract year too. So I think he needs to prove on why he's trying to get paid.
All right,
Um.
MFB, your tight
So
end sleeper pick.
All right, my
uh,
tight end sleeper. I don't got a crazy analysis for it, but it's Zach Ertz.
okay,
All
let
right.
me go
The
pull him
only
up real
thing I can say
quick.
about this is, yep, good old Zach Ertz.
Zach Ertz being drafted, not at
Oh yeah,
all.
deep in the red.
Yeah,
But
this is where you can't. It's
that's a
yeah. No one.
horrible
Don't
pick.
touch. These are where the kickers are being drafted, by the way. So
Don't even
kickers,
touch that on me.
defenses, third string.
hey, relax,
Sam
relax.
Darnold's
Listen,
here.
listen, listen. Hear me out.
Sam Darnold right here,
Hear me out. Hear me out. Let me
and
land. Let
Dylan
me land.
Lube. No, it's
Stay
fine.
with me now. All right.
All right.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
We remember how Zach Ertz was with Cliff Kingsbury, right?
Okay.
Yep.
And he got the homie back in Washington now.
Oh, that's true.
I
Okay.
definitely. But don't they have the other tight end? What's his name? He got hurt a little bit last year, but he played really well towards the end of the year.
You talking about Logan
Uh,
Thomas? Nah, they don't have him
he's
no more.
he's on SF. He's on
Yep.
SF.
Yep.
Oh yeah, and you got Jaden Daniels there. Not bad.
I think. I mean,
I
to
mean,
be
I'm still not
honest,
drafting the guy,
I mean,
but
this is. I mean, last pick. Let's say you have only one tight end. Last pick. I like this. I like Zach Ertz. I mean, in Washington. I mean, there's some solid options. I don't know if I would say that he's necessarily like the second option, maybe the second option in that offense. Possibly you could push for that. Probably
I mean, not
closer to
second,
third
but he's
option.
Second
probably
option, no way.
third, low key, right? Because they have
Yeah,
Terry, they have Eck or B Rob, whoever's
I'm
in,
thinking. So when
and
I
they
say
have.
second option, I'm thinking more like in the end zone. Like you know, he's looking for a touchdown. He's looking to who to throw to. Zach Ertz
Zach
is
Ertz all
a
day,
tight.
bro.
He's an end zone threat. He's definitely an end zone threat. Um, I like this pick for the value. Honestly, this is no one's taking Zach Ertz. I mean, there are clearly he's being drafted. 55 picks earlier, but I mean that's still 250th pick. So, yeah,
Well,
I like
well,
it.
well, I mean, a slight downside of Zach Ertz is he is a week 14 bye. And if you need a tight end week 14 for you to clinch in the playoffs, he will not be available. So I feel like, yeah, he might be the guy, but if you're one of in the middle or lower in the standings, you could use him as a trade piece if he starts popping off. But I
I
would,
think, yeah, I think him being a sleeper pick, having a week 14 bye, I think at that point you trade him if you see that upcoming, like you project that, you think, yo, I'm gonna need him if you need him before then you keep him. But if you don't need him and you can afford another tight end, you have like your other tight end is doing well. I think his value for a trade would be excellent. Especially if he does well over there. So.
the thing is that I think they also drafted a guy. His name is Ben Sinnott. He is
Who?
Ben
Yeah,
Sinnott.
they
He
said
is out
somebody
of
they drafted.
Kansas State. What pick
Yeah.
was he? I have no clue.
I mean, I don't
They
think
got him in
he.
like the second round.
Yeah.
So if they're using, yeah, he was the 53rd pick. So if they're using their second round pick for a tight end, I don't know, man. That's pretty high for a tight end now. I
Right.
feel like Ben Sinnott can be that dude.
I say last pick of the draft. You don't have a secondary tight end. You only have one. You just kept fading the tight end. You don't have anyone. I say Zach Ertz is a great pick.
But Ben Sinnott might be the starting tight end though.
And we'll see closer to training camp, honestly, as they start practicing and they start playing some pregame, like preseason games. We'll kind of get a better feel for this. But as of now, at this moment, late July, we're doing this episode. I would say he's good value. So we'll see as we get closer to the season. These rankings will change. Our sleeper picks will change. But this is just kind of guys you should keep your eye out on and just be aware that they could, potentially be good players.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to move on to my tight end sleeper pick this year. And my pick this year is Hunter Henry. If I could spell that. Hunter, who the hell? Renfro? No. Hunter Henry. So Hunter Henry's going currently, I think it's like round 12 or something, pretty late in the draft. I just think that he's ranked currently tight end 18. And he has now Jacoby Brissett thrown to him. And Jacoby Brissett last season, he only played 3 games. I think he's playing for Washington, but he only played 3 games, but he had a 78.3% completion percentage, like for his throws. And so I think that he's a starting tight end on that offense. The only downside I can say that I'm thinking of is that they changed their coaching staff, so there's risk there. You don't know how it's going to operate, but I do think he's an end zone threat, and I don't really know if there's a lot of other options on that team in terms of like end zone threat. You know what I mean? So I think
Yeah.
Hunter Henry, for where he's being drafted, like if you're really fading the tight end, you don't want a tight end, you just keep avoiding it. I think late in the draft, 12th round, you're taking this guy, or if you're taking him up as a backup, I think he's going to have those games where you really might need him and he really can do well for you.
I'm personally not a fan of that pick, just because I'm not a fan of the New England offense. They're literally a hit or miss, and usually it's a miss. Even though Hunter Henry might be the number one option, I don't see. I just like I feel like he'll just be very inconsistent. Like maybe one game he'll give you 12, 13 points, and then another game he'll give you less than 4. So I would not draft him at that spot.
That's fair.
Mhm.
MFB, any thoughts?
I think I'll tell you some reasons why I like it, and then I'll tell you some reasons I don't like it. Right? Some reasons I like it is because there's not much competition like there, like to just take all the targets, right?
Right.
As well as the red zone looks, correct?
Yeah.
Um, Now, with regards to the coaching staff, right, this is the part where I don't like, is because the Pats pretty much like they promoted their new staff from within, right? They
Right.
made Jared Mayo, um, like the head coach, right?
Right.
Who was like there? So he's been there. He's been there forever, like hella
Yeah.
long. And like they're not going to change much. Like, and they're known to like run the ball a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
True.
so even though they passed a lot last year, right? I know
Yeah.
somebody's gonna be like, "Oh, well, they passed so much." Like, they're probably gonna tone that down, right?
Right.
Now there is the slight chance that they don't, and like Drake May goes dumb, but I don't know if that's this year.
Yeah.
The third pick overall at the last draft.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. That's true. I mean, yeah, they did draft him to come in, and I don't know when he starts, so that's also true. So, yeah, I mean that makes sense. I'd like to change my tight end pick to Luke Musgrave. He has Jordan Love throwing him the ball.
I
Yeah,
definitely
I
do
mean,
the same, brother.
huh?
I do the same thing. I change it real quick too.
I mean, there's like pros and cons to each pick. I mean, you're drafting here, and someone takes Luke Musgrave in your face. I don't think Hunter Henry's a bad option. I think he's going to be on the waivers. I think he's gonna in a lot of leagues. And I think he gets one or two big games, and if he's on your bench, he could be a trade piece versus having to waste a waiver pick on him. Now, if you don't need him and there's better picks here, then take your shot on one of these picks. But I think it's not a bad option in my opinion.
But well, the thing is though, I this might be a hot take. I think you personally fade every single New England Patriot player.
Okay.
Maybe besides Ramondre Stevenson, but I think he's going to get a crazy workload. He's going to be probably in 85-90% of the offensive plays. So they're pretty
Right.
much going to run him to the ground, and at some point, he might there's a high chance of him getting injured, and then the offense is just going to go straight to crap.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I would not touch a Patriots player. That's just my opinion.
Okay. Fair. I changed my pick to Luke Musgrave. That was easy.
Yeah.
Jordan Love throwing the ball.
Hey,
Um,
they paid him. They paid Love.
yeah. No. Yeah. He's he's gonna do great things this season as long as he
Hmm.
stays healthy and he's got the support on his team and his team stays healthy.
Yeah.
All right. So I know we've gone way over time, but real quick, do you guys have any extra sleeper picks? Any position? BBTV?
Um.
Anyone else?
Maybe. Listen.
I'm
Uh,
waiting. I'm trying to type the name. Let's go.
I think it's. I don't know. There's a few running backs that might be sleeper.
One pick, brother. Come on. This
Okay.
episode's running long. People are gonna start closing the episode. Let's go.
Uh, I'm gonna go Devin Singletary. I
Devin
think.
Oh, I did not spell that right.
Whoa, it's a lot of red there, brother.
It's a terrible pick. That's why.
No, I think Devin Singletary will be solid. I think the Giants' offense has improved a lot with Daniel Jones being back, Malik Neighbors. Um,
Who?
I think Jalen Hyatt is doing really solid in camp. I forgot the other guy who they signed from the Lions.
I mean, they paid Daniel Jones last year, right?
Yes, they
Huge
did.
contract. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that offense is. They're gonna have to figure it out. It's. I mean, yeah. I like the pick. I like Devin Singletary. I just think that he's going to be drafted. You know, pretty quickly. Like people are going to pick him up. I would definitely take him over Brian Robinson. I would take
Yeah.
him.
Oh.
I might take him over Zach Moss.
I
I
would
don't
take him
know.
over Zach Moss.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Moss proved himself last season, but I would take him over Javonte Williams.
I
I
think
mean,
he's a round 8 pick, right?
yeah,
Round 8, round 9.
this is end of round 8, so this is the start of round 9 right here. So yeah, this is
Okay.
like end of round 8. I would take him beginning of round 8. Honestly, if you
Yeah.
need another RB, I would definitely take. He's high on my list, and I think as we get closer to the season, he's going to move up. I think he's going to move up here towards the uh, later in the end of the 6th round, beginning of the 7th round. To be honest, I think he's going to move up a lot.
Yeah.
MFB, any thoughts?
Nah, no thoughts.
All right, bro. You
Anyway,
All
good?
on
right.
to my pick. Nah, I mean, like, I can see the value. I mean, that's a little bit too early. Like, if his ADP fell
Yeah.
to like the next round, half a round, I might be on board. But this is a little bit too high.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
Wow.
it's a little bit too high, I would say.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting take. All right.
Yeah.
My
Very
pick
thought
is
provoking.
one guy we mentioned before,
MFB.
the
Okay.
other tight end on the Saints, Taysom Hill.
Taysom Hill. Here we go.
Bro.
That homie, they literally like send him on the field. The other team knows he's getting the ball, and then they give him the ball and he scores. Like it's kind of crazy. if you-
Yeah, that has to be the most annoying thing when you're playing against Taysom Hill, and you're like, guys, come on. He just got on the field. They're on the 3-yard line. What do you think is going to happen? And then he just goes and scores right up the middle. So
Like-
yeah, it's
So like, look, bro, he might get you 0 one week, but he might get you 30 one week.
You're not wrong. You know. Well,
No,
the thing's,
I like it.
I'm a Saints fan, so I'm hoping either Taysom Hill, or Juwan Johnson pops off significantly.
Yeah,
and,
have fun with Juwan Johnson.
but I mean, I'm not tripping with either or. You just gotta hope that the app that you're drafting on has Taysom Hill as a tight end.
Yes, please,
That's the
everyone. If you're
one.
drafting, make sure that Taysom Hill's listed as a tight end. Do not take him if he's only listed as a QB. I'm pretty sure he's listed as a tight end everywhere, but there may be some leagues. I actually haven't looked in all the leagues, so yeah, if he's listed as a QB and not tight end at all, then yeah, he's not worth touching at all. Pretty much.
Yeah.
All right, let me get on to my extra sleeper pick. And we can close out. I'm going to take Khalil Shakir from the Buffalo Bills. He is the number 1 receiver in Buffalo now. There's no one else. Gabe Davis is gone. Stephon Diggs is gone. The only other threat on that team to take targets is Kincaid, the tight end, who I think is going to do great things this year. But
Curtis Samuel.
No.
Curtis Samuel is there, and I like Curtis Samuel for I think Curtis Samuel will also do well. You have Josh Allen throwing the ball. I think that they will all kind of produce somewhat, but Khalil Shakir last year was averaging a little over 10 yards per target last season in all his in his games. So he can run. I mean, he's got speed. So I mean, they just get him the ball and he takes off, and you could get huge plays with him. And with Josh Allen throwing the ball, he will make huge plays. So I think Khalil Shakir going what is this, end of round 10, I do think that he's the number 1 option in Buffalo. You got to take him. I think it'll be great, whether it's a bench trade piece or if you flex him if you have to, yeah, go ahead.
I personally hate that pick. I think that's the worst
Damn,
take
bro.
possibly in the episode so far in
Right.
episode 3.
Sure.
Just the reason why you have the main man, Josh Allen, which is taking he can run it, he can do it, he can do whatever he wants.
He can throw it to himself.
Exactly, he can do a lot of things. And then you also have Dalton Kincaid. He's gonna step up for sure. He has Keon Coleman, the guy that they drafted, and he's
Right.
playing lights out right now in camp. Curtis Samuel. I think Curtis Samuel is the sleeper pick. Keem, last year you thought Curtis Samuel was a sleeper pick.
I did.
So
I like Curtis Samuel. He's actually being drafted very close. Where is he? Curtis Samuel. Do you guys see him on the screen?
I don't.
I'm mistaken. He might be a little bit lower, a little bit higher. I forget. But he's
But
he's right here. Pick 120. He's the wide receiver 52 and Khalil Shakir is wide receiver 60.
yeah, and they have James Cook. James Cook is heavily involved in the passing offense. Very heavy. So I'm personally just not a fan of that pick. I would not waste my pick on him.
Okay.
Shitty ass pick.
I think.
All right, let's calm down, man.
You can relax.
Let's
I think it's kind of the similar situation that we talked about in the last episode, right? Where the Nico Stephon Diggs situation, right?
right.
One of these guys is going to be the guy between Khalil Shakir and Curtis Samuel.
Mm-hmm.
We just
Right.
don't know who. And again, we see them in the same tier, maybe like 8 to 10 picks within each other.
Right.
So it's going to be, you got to take your shot.
I mean,
Who's
I
gonna
think
be the guy.
I think if you need a wide receiver here and that's your pick, and you have the option between Curtis Samuel and Khalil Shakir, I think you can take Curtis Samuel. You take your shot at either of them. I think Khalil Shakir is going to do great things. I think he's a good player. I think he has a skill set. I think he can do it. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be, he's going to end up on the season wide receiver 15 or wide receiver 10. I don't necessarily see that, but I think he's going to do good things, and I think he's going to be valuable for your team.
But Kim, would you take Jerry Jeudy over Khalil Shakir?
In Cleveland, so we are doing this episode a little bit early. I think as training camp goes through and we start to see more of these things, I think these picks will change. We'll say, you know what, Khalil Shakir's kind of he's a dud, or we end up seeing him in training camp killing it, and we say, hey, you know what, he's moving up, and now he's being drafted higher than Curtis Samuel. His ADP. I mean, he's currently being taken. What is it? It shows 15 picks earlier, so he's getting drafted closer to like the 130 mark over here.
Mm-hmm.
That's just average draft position, and so people are interested in him. Now, like I said, as training camp goes on, we're gonna kind of see, people get exposed whether or not they're actually, out like as good as they are, or if they should be drafted that high, or if they're not as good as we thought they were going to be. So this all kind of pending training camp, but just from what we know of last year and what the rosters look like this year, I think that it's a good pick. And at this very moment, I might take Khalil Shakir. I might take that gamble. It could pay off over Jerry Jeudy. I don't know. Deshaun Watson in Cleveland, I just don't know with him, So I don't know. I think you take Khalil Shakir and you just take the gamble on him.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but you will not be doing that gambling, will you, buddy?
Well, definitely not. Hate
All
that
right.
pick.
All right. Well, that's gonna do it for this episode. Next episode we will be doing some interesting things, so stay tuned. Get ready for episode 4, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yes, sir. Peace, peace, peace.
Yep. Peace.